Healing in Plus has always seemed like something unreachable to me. Nah, I'm not gonna reuse my intro from the tanking series. I wasn't planning on doing a 0 to hero challenge on a healer, but in my tanking series I pushed the narrative that tanking was the most stressful and difficult role in the game. And some of my viewers disagreed, writing comments like, no, healer is the most stressful role. My initial reaction to that was that I completely disagree. Tanking felt stressful from the moment I applied to a group and until the end of the queue, whatever the outcome of the run was. But then I thought, I have to check out healing for myself. I always thought that healing was super complicated, although complicated is not the same as stressful. So I've never healed M+, and season ends in 1 month. I had to act quickly. And in this episode I will show you my struggles as a new healer and what I was able to achieve in 2.5 weeks of playing Resto Druid from zero. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. By the end of the video I will share you my thoughts on whether the healer is the most complicated and stressful role in the game. This late into the season I knew well enough who the meta healer is. I recently leveled a druid for tanking purposes in Midnight through time walking dungeons. How convenient it turned out to be for this healing journey. Even though I had my shaman geared, I didn't have the cartel chips for the most broken healing trinket Lumitar Silk. And also I didn't feel like playing Resto Shaman. Druid seemed like a lot more fun. So I equipped all the warband items I had and looked at the rest of Druid guides. I had an overall idea what to do on Druid. Just use HOTS on everyone, cast regrowth and DPS in cat form. I went straight into +2 to check out whether I got the grasp on how to play Druid. Unfortunately, I deleted all footage up until +12s. I didn't think I would need it. I got to +6 and 7s pretty quickly, farmed hero track gear. Having Rio on main helped me get into groups in terrible gear. I also quickly ran the raid on normal to buy some gear for the cartel chips. Is that a Brutasaur? Also, I'm so close to buying the Brutasaur auction house mount for $100, but I tried my best to not to. Yeah, I tried so hard and got so far. In the end, I bought it as a Christmas gift for myself. So I got to running +12s, I was learning a lot. At the beginning I was overwhelmed. There is a lot of things that I needed to track, heal, do DPS, and not die from puddles while I'm full on tunnel vision on party frames. Healing turned out to be so much fun, and playing Resto Druid in particular. The most difficult thing at the start for me was that in every single dungeon I had to dispel something. In particular, in Dawnbreaker you must dispel Deceit, but at first I dispelled other debuffs. Also, the first boss in Dawnbreaker was challenging to get used to, healing through the debuff before the beam. But I got a hang of my cooldowns like Convoke, Tranquility and the Lumitar Trinket. It was so nice from my teammates to never press defensives, and me being in low gear, running +12s felt like running +18s. The biggest obstacle was the gear. I needed like 1,000 gilded crests. I've done it so many times, so I felt a bit burnt out from spamming +12s. From this key level, getting Rio was challenging. In +12s you can find a lot of strong players wanting to get their weekly chore done. But in +13 and further, these are the players that start pushing Rio. My first +13 welcomed me by a bug. The Yite from the side of the ship wanted to mess me up, but I escaped with a melt. But unfortunately a bit later the tank died. It's a nice start. I expected people and especially tanks to try their best. As a new tank I tried to follow good routes and not position this mini boss like that in the corner. Anyway, this was my first time +13. A new personal healing record and 3000 Rio. Nothing can stop me now. I timed a couple of more 13s and had the audacity to apply to a +14. I was doing as well as I could in my gear and with my experience. If it wasn't for the last 4 months where I tanked from 0 to 3700 and doing the same thing on DPS, I wouldn't be able to get Rio that fast in Resto Druid. Plus, by this point I'm so used to the UI and I feel comfortable with everything that is going on the screen. But the key fell apart on the second boss. But with that being said, I also failed a lot. For example here, I completely forgot about the ads that blow up upon death, and I had all CDs. Without resting me, the tank went ahead to pull one of the most dangerous pulls in this dungeon. Priority slaps even in +13 it seems. My friend DH is back, and we two tested my first +14 Echo Dome. I was a bit nervous heading into my first +15, especially the Dawnbreaker. I worried that I wouldn't be able to heal through the debuff on the first boss. But the run was going well until this moment, when tank directed the orb into the wall. As the difficulty increased in Gambit, I started asking hunters to soak the orbs on the last boss. I wasn't confident that I can run and soak them while keeping everyone else alive. And this is where I discovered another frustrating thing, is that up until plus 18, hunters just ignored my request, and I had to do it myself. My movement looks very awkward during the overlap, but I was so worried that I will get the arrow or won't have enough time to heal everyone. I was a bit slow and got 2 stacks. At this skill level it wasn't lethal. Due to the end of the season, finding tanks and healers took a while. In my terrible gear I got invited to a plus 16 Ecodome. I was worried about the sentinels, when they lose shield and start doing a lot of damage to everyone, but I used my CDs well enough and no one died. The intermission of the second boss turned out to be complicated for healers, especially if you get targeted with a frontal. Trying to keep everyone alive, but keeping in mind what order a frontal is, it's not that easy. The Lumithar trinket is so broken, I can't imagine healing without it, and this is my first plus 16 as a healer. I enjoy healing a lot. Slowly but surely I was pumping Rio. My gear still was low, I got declined so many times in plus 15s and 16s. The most frustrating thing was to look at DPS players that don't press any defensives, when they get targeted with debuffs or any other damaging abilities. When they died, my initial reaction was always that I felt them as a healer. I couldn't save them. But as I'm recording every dungeon run, I see most of the time that they either don't press anything or they press a defensive when they got to 10% HP. So each time I'm rewatching a VOD, it is like...
It's not your fault. I know. It's not your fault.
But when tanks died, I didn't find it that frustrating. I can relate to it. I got only mad when they pulled a lot of ads with 3+ casters without a bloodlust, like in Gambit before the second boss. The Dawnbreaker doesn't have the worst dungeon design, but the bugs that haven't been fixed in a year make it terrible. I accidentally typhooned the back caster off the ship, and it was flying and spamming bolts. I spent all of my mana. And for the boss's overlap, I didn't have enough mana, panicked, and died. When I played Ellie, every time in Floodgate I didn't feel safe. It was scary to look at the party frames even at plus 15 and 16. But it turned out to be that if you manage your CDs, the boss is not that hard. I had the most complicated moment at the last boss, when it casted debuffs and killed the tank. Somehow I managed to CR the tank and heal through the debuffs. It felt really good. The first boss in Ara-Kara is so hard for healers. I got to a plus 17. Sometimes I'm too focused on my group mates that I completely forget about my own defensives. The Druid's interrupt killed me so many times when I leap into a puddle or a void zone. It seemed like a fun design at the start, but not anymore. One of the biggest frustrations I had when people that didn't press a single defensives, for example in Dawnbreaker 17 with a debuff and Ray at the same time. I was only able to save one of the 2 DPS players that didn't press anything, but the other hit me with lots of question marks. And when I told him that he should have used Spell Reflect, he hit me with, "I can reflect the Ray, brother." To be honest, I wasn't expecting this at the plus 17 level. I could have probably saved them both with that tranquility, but DPS players shouldn't make healers' life that miserable. Also, I got from him, I've never met a healer that couldn't heal through the first pull. Anyway, my first plus 18 ended up in a vote to abandon due to Shaman unwilling to press Lust, and so many deaths. At this time, my everyday routine consisted of 15 depletes into a one-timed run on a good day. I got into a prison of plus 17 dungeons and occasional plus 18s. And you already know the usual suspects of a depleted run. Dying in puddles, not pressing defensives, crazy MDI routes by tanks without bloodlust. I also trolled a couple of keys, when somehow I entered chat and didn't move out a thing, or just failed the mechanic like it happened here, where I have no idea how this killed me. My biggest achievement is timing Prairie 17. The HPS check is insane. And I found a group that actually pressed defensive before the damage happened. By the end of the run, our DK went FK for a couple of minutes. Because of that, I spent all of my mana, as the ads were dying slowly. I would try to drink up with Melt, but I had to use Melt to skip the elemental's drain. After the run, DK apologized, said his food arrived. If the key got depleted because of that, I'd never let him hear the end of it. So I got to 3547 Rio. I don't think reaching my favorite number of 3700 Rio by the end of the season is possible. There are no keys until evening, and the deplete rate is so high. Plus with 723 eye level, people aren't keen on inviting me. The highest key I was invited to was plus 19 Gambit. I was doing great as a healer, but the mage trolled the key by dying 2 times to puddles on the second boss. Anyway, at the end of the day, I almost have Resilient 17, except for Floodgate. I depleted a lot of Floodgate 17. The highest key I managed to time is plus 18 holes. I had a blast playing healer. I would even say that is the most fun I had. It does require a lot of energy and attention, especially Resto Druid with swapping forms, doing damage in cat, kick and cast, vortex plus typhoon combo, dispels, barks, CRs. But I enjoyed the complexity so much, it made me feel like a giga chat. I will probably try to push higher till the season is over. On the other hand, I would say that healing is the most frustrating role, but I wouldn't call it the most stressful. I still think that tanking is the most stressful role. When playing tank, you have to worry about routes, count, when to chain pulls, and staying alive all the time. The damage is not predictable sometimes. But when playing healer, you can prepare for all situations. The damage is predictable, you can set up HOTS before the scary AoE happens. But I'm a bit biased, because I was tanking when I didn't know the dungeons well. But since then, I spammed the same 8 dungeons on each role and it got better as a player overall. I wish I got into healing early into the season, but I didn't have the time or mental capacity at the time. Anyway, healing puts a lot of cognitive strain on you, and I found the best way to decompress and relax by playing WoW Hardcore, and I'm working on a video about it. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I want to end this video on this thought. Don't be afraid to try different roles. Even if everyone tells you something is stressful or overly complicated, don't let that stop you. The game is fun. Mythic Plus in particular. Stepping out of your comfort zone might seem frightening, but it's worth it. Thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the WoW Hardcore realm.